Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on an exploration that, well, it promises to fundamentally rewire how you perceive the very structure of your reality.
It really does.
Forget the idea of a fixed destiny. Instead, just for a moment, imagine that your entire life exists as this nearly infinite library of choices. Every possible decision, every single outcome, every version of your future, they all already exist, just sort of filed away on a metaphysical shelf, waiting for you to access them.
And that is the truly audacious claim at the heart of the source material we're getting into today. We are engaging with the teachings of Vadim Zeland, all packaged under the philosophy he calls reality transurfing.
Right. And this isn't just, another flavor of positive thinking.
Not at all. It's a very detailed dualistic model of existence. It proposes that we aren't merely pawns just reacting to whatever life throws at us, but that we're actually active navigators, that our internal state, it acts like a directional antenna for which reality track we end up on.
We have a pretty dense stack of material here, breaking down these, they're complex principles, but breaking them down into actionable techniques. The immediate takeaway, the big picture, is this dualistic model Zeland presents. First, you have the physical world, the three-dimensional reality we interact with, the one we experience tangibly, day to day.
And then you have its counterpart. This infinite metaphysical realm Zeland calls the space of variations, or sometimes the alternative space.
Okay.
And this isn't just a place where possibilities are, created on the fly. It's a timeless informational archive. It contains the blueprint for everything that ever has been, is, or could potentially be. It's already complete.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty critical. We need to master this vocabulary to move past the philosophical abstraction and really get a grip on the mechanics of this dual reality.
Yeah, the practical side of it.
Exactly. Yeah. We need to dissect the actual steps Zeland proposes for consciously choosing your reality. And, just as important, minimizing the resistance that keeps you locked into unwanted paths. Okay, let's unpack this and start mapping the terrain in section 1. The space of variations.
So we have to begin with the foundational concept, which is the space of variations itself. To really understand transurfing, you have to internalize that this isn't just some abstract idea. It's proposed as a fundamental, almost physical reality and informational substrate.
An information field.
Exactly. An infinite information field. It holds every potential outcome, every sequence of events, every possible scenario you can imagine, and a million more you can't.
It really is the ultimate universal archive. I find it helps to keep the analogy of a colossal film library in your mind. The source describes it as an archive of all possible films or life tracks. And crucially, if you can conceive of a scenario, no matter how improbable it seems, whether it's running a global company or moving to a remote island or spontaneously learning ancient Greek, that detailed scenario, fully scripted and ready to go, it already exists as a variation in this space.
And that's a key detail. These variations aren't just like probabilities waiting to be created. They are stable and eternal blueprints. Each variation is a potential reality, complete with its own specific script, its own scenery, props, all the attributes.
Information is just there.
It's just there. The entire job of reality shifting or transurfing is simply tuning into the correct frequency to access that pre-existing script.
But doesn't that feel a little, fatalistic? If everything is already scripted, where does our free will even come in?
That's a necessary, critical question, and the system does address it. Zeland argues that free will isn't about writing the script because the space is infinite and it contains all the scripts already. Free will is about choosing which script to watch, which track to follow. And that choice is enacted moment by moment through your consciousness and your intention.
Okay, so if the archive holds everything, we have to talk about the mechanism. How does one of those scripts become, tangible? This is the material realization part.
Right. Our experienced reality, this desk, this microphone, the air in this room, is the tangible manifestation of one specific sector. It's one tiny illuminated frame from that infinite archive.
So the space of variations is the reel of film. Endless and complete. And the physical reality we inhabit right now today is just the single frame that's currently being projected onto the screen of existence, illuminated by our focused energy.
And that word illumination is highly significant. It implies the sector itself doesn't move or change. We simply focus our consciousness upon it. And that brings it into material tangibility.
So our internal state, our focus, it's like a spotlight.
It's the spotlight. It's shining on the desired, or more often than not, the feared informational blueprint within the space. What you focus your energy on is what becomes illuminated and therefore what becomes realized.
That makes the act of worrying profoundly dangerous in this model, doesn't it?
Oh, incredibly.
Because if I'm constantly worried about losing my job,
Hmm.
I am inadvertently focusing that spotlight on the job loss sector, right? I'm illuminating that reality and bringing its script into my life.
Precisely. That is the core paradox. Thought energy, especially emotion-laden thought energy, acts as the selector. If you dwell intensely on a fear, you are essentially setting the dial for the life track where that fear is the star of the show.
Okay, so let's get organized. If the space of variations is the whole library, then Zeland uses the term lifetracks to define the specific pathways within that library.
Hmm. They are the countless parallel pathways through life. You can think of a life track as a specific sequence of events that follows a distinct causal chain. Each track is already prescripted with a unique set of circumstances, challenges, resources, and, of course, ultimate outcomes.
And this is the massive philosophical implication that transurfing forces you to confront. If you are deeply unhappy in a certain situation, say a toxic work environment, the natural temptation is to use all your mental and physical energy fighting the circumstances within that situation.
And the source material just stresses over and over that this is a complete waste of energy. The implication is that shifting reality isn't about fighting the current script, because the script of the sector you are on right now, it's fixed.
You can't change it.
You cannot change the details of the specific path you are currently walking.
So that's the profound constraint of the model.
Yes, but the freedom is the ability to shift tracks. An individual moves from the toxic job life track to the fulfilling career life track, not by fighting their boss, but by internally changing their frequency. By doing that, they access a completely different pre-existing script where that problem is either solved or just absent.
Wow.
And that realization alone saves an immense amount of wasted inner tension.
So if I realize I'm fighting the script, I need to recognize that I'm trying to rewrite the movie while the projector is running.
Yeah, good analogy.
The smarter move is to just step out of the theater and choose a new movie altogether. And that leads us perfectly into the mechanism of that choice, intention.
Right. Transitioning to the mechanism of choice requires us to understand thought energy in in a non-traditional way. It is the key ingredient that allows us to perform that track shift.
And this distinction, as you said, is crucial, and it's so often misunderstood in the general, self-help world. Our thoughts don't act like a hammer that forces change upon a resistant reality. They act as a selector.
Absolutely. Our thoughts do not forcefully change the script of the current track. Instead, they act as a tuning mechanism that illuminates or selects a corresponding sector in the space of variations. We're just finding a script that matches our internal broadcast.
It's the radio tuner analogy, but let's really elaborate on it.
Right.
If I want to hear classical music, I don't stand in front of the radio and yell at it until it changes the station.
Right.
I calmly adjust the dial to the frequency where classical music is already playing. The radio station is the life track. The dial is my focused thought energy.
And the quality of that tuning, the coherence of the signal, it all depends on the alignment of the thought energy with your inner state. If your thoughts are scattered, contradictory, or laced with doubt, the energy is weak. You won't lock on to a clear frequency.
It's just static.
It's just static.
Right.
The thought has to be focused, sustained, and aligned to effectively tune you to the specific desired life track.
Okay, let's revisit that profound constraint of this model because it is the foundation of the freedom. The constraint is the script. You cannot change the script of the specific sector you're currently standing on. If the script includes a difficult manager, then that manager will remain difficult as long as you stay on that track.
And if you spend all your energy battling that manager, you remain locked on the fighting the manager track.
Right.
The freedom, however, is the power to choose to move to a completely different sector. A life track where maybe that manager is benign, or where your role doesn't require you to interact with them at all, or where you've moved to a better job entirely.
So we stop seeing reality as this battleground that requires constant force and struggle. We start seeing it as a field of infinite pre-written possibilities, and our mind is just the receiver. If we don't like the noise, we adjust the frequency until we land on the channel we want.
Exactly.
But for a lot of people, that sounds exactly like standard positive thinking. Is there a specific difference that Zeland really points out?
Yes, there is, and the difference lies in the next concept,
Yeah.
the type of intention you're using. Positive thinking often falls into the trap of what he calls inner intention, and that limits its effectiveness.
Okay, let's break that down. Inner versus outer intention.
This duality is, I would argue, the most defining element of transurfing. So, inner intention is the determination to act within the current reality. It's your willpower, your grit, your persistence. It's focusing on the process.
So if I want to start a business, inner intention is me spending 80 hours a week designing the product, building the website, networking, pushing through all the obstacles.
Exactly. It's what we're all taught in school and in business. It's essential for execution, but it is limited to the physics and the challenges of the current life track you are on. It might help you climb a difficult hill on this track, but it will not move you to a parallel track where the path is already flat.
Okay, so then outer intention must be the force that moves you to the flat path.
It is. Outer intention is the focused will to have something. It's a calm, unwavering, almost detached conviction that your chosen reality will manifest. The focus is entirely on the goal being a foregone conclusion, and you completely separate from the how.
What's so fascinating here and what gives it its power is the analysis of its mechanics. Outer intention operates by selecting a life track where the goal is already realized. It doesn't laboriously try to build the desired outcome brick by brick on the current track. It just uses the informational power of the space of variations.
That's why it's often described as a quantum leap. Inner intention navigates your current path using muscle. Outer intention is the calm magnetic pull that shifts you almost instantaneously to an entirely different parallel path whose script already contains the realized goal.
So you just declare the end result.
You declare the end result, and the space of variations handles the intermediate steps.
So outer intention isn't just wishing. It's a form of high-level spiritual detachment combined with focus. But that sounds incredibly difficult to maintain. If I want $1 million, how do I achieve that calm conviction without my logical mind just screaming about the impossible how?
And that difficulty leads directly into the next requirement: energetic coherence. You cannot achieve effective outer intention if your thoughts and your feelings are fighting each other.
The unity of heart and mind.
Yes. Outer intention requires that specific energetic state, the unity of the soul and the mind. The mind represents the logical, analytical side, your thoughts, goals, desires. The heart represents the soul's deepest feelings, your intuition, your level of acceptance.
So if my mind desperately wants that promotion, but my heart is laced with deep-seated doubt or fear of responsibility or a belief that I'm not worthy, then my intention is just contradictory. The signal is weak.
That's the disunity. You're broadcasting two frequencies at the same time: a high-frequency demand for success from your mind and a low-frequency broadcast of rejection from your heart.
And the space of variations just gets a muddled signal.
It gets a muddled signal and often responds with chaos, or just defaults to the path of greater emotional intensity, which is almost always the path of fear.
It's noise. So to successfully tune the dial to the right life track, you have to minimize the noise.
A unified heart and mind create a coherent and powerful frequency broadcast. The source implies that the soul knows the most favorable path, the one that feels light, comfortable, and harmonious. When the mind drops its logical resistance and aligns with that inner knowing, the intention becomes crystal clear and potent.
I see.
And that makes the selection process in the space of variations virtually instantaneous. This unity is the necessary battery power for outer intention to even work.
Okay, so we have the ideal state: a unified mind and heart, broadcasting clear outer intention, selecting a better life track. But the universe is full of interference. If the space of variations is the field of possibilities and our intention is the selector, what are the two massive energetic hurdles that actively interfere with our tuning?
Zeland calls them pendulums and excessive importance.
Right. Let's tackle the external interference first, the pendulums.
Pendulums are fascinating and they're pervasive. They're defined as these massive energy information structures created by the collective focused thought energy of groups of people all moving or thinking in the same direction.
So they're abstract, not physical.
They're abstract, but they exert very real, measurable force on reality.
We encounter them every single day. The sources list them broadly. They can be as grand as political movements, specific religious organizations, or global trends. But they can also be intensely personal, right? Like entrenched family dramas or workplace gossip cycles.
Or even mass fears driven by media cycles. Absolutely.
And their behavior is purely parasitic.
Purely. A pendulum's sole function is self-perpetuation, and to survive it has to draw energy from its adherents. They actively manipulate people by playing on intense, low-frequency emotions: fear, guilt, indignation, desire, and hatred. They thrive on emotional engagement.
Think about that toxic family drama Pendulum. It's been running for 20 years. It has a script. Cousin A always fights with Aunt B. If you enter that script and get emotionally involved, it doesn't matter if you defend Aunt B or attack Cousin A.
You're feeding it.
You are feeding the pendulum the necessary energy to continue its loop.
And that energy is generated through emotional friction. Pendulums often pit groups against each other precisely to maximize this friction. If you get sucked into an online argument or feel compelled to doom scroll news stories that make you angry, you are actively physically feeding that structure.
And your energy is being siphoned away from fueling your own lifetrack shift.
That's the key.
So what's the implication for your reality, for the listener's reality?
It's severe. Zeland suggests a significant portion of what we perceive as our own unique thoughts, feelings, and actions are actually influenced, guided, or outright constructed by these invisible structures.
Yeah.
They work hard to keep individuals locked into specific, often negative or limiting scripts, because those scripts generate predictable, continuous energy for the pendulum. We mistake the pendulum's desire for our own.
The moment you realize that your anxiety or your anger about a societal issue might not be purely your organic feeling, but it could be a structured attempt by an external energy form to draw your focus. That's a powerful moment of regaining control.
A very powerful moment.
Okay, so if pendulums are the external drain, then excessive importance is the internal pressure cooker we build for ourselves.
It is the internal energetic imbalance. The core principle is that attaching excessive importance to absolutely anything, a goal, a relationship, an outcome, a status symbol, or even to your own sense of self-worth, which is ego importance, it creates what he calls excess potential.
And this isn't just wishing or desiring something.
No, this is hyper-emotional attachment to a singular outcome.
And what happens when you create this massive energetic distortion?
Nature mandates equilibrium. The source states that the balancing forces of nature are instantly triggered to eliminate this excess potential. The universe seeks to flatten the energetic curve you just created. And it's neutral. It doesn't care if you deem the goal good or bad, it only cares about the imbalance.
So if I apply extreme importance to landing this dream job, that high tension triggers the balancing forces. How do they actually manifest? Do they cause a disaster?
They manifest by creating obstacles, minor mishaps, sudden anxiety during the interview, or simply leading to the opposite result. They neutralize the significance of the goal, often by ensuring you don't achieve it, which then reduces the extreme mental value you placed upon it.
So the universe essentially says this outcome is not that important, and then proves it by taking it away.
That's a great way to put it.
That explains the universal experience, doesn't it? The second you truly let go of a desire, you stop obsessing over that relationship or that job interview or even a parking spot, the thing you wanted suddenly appears or resolves itself easily.
Yes, because the importance drops to zero. The balancing forces subside, the distortion vanishes, and the space of variations is then free to allow your clear outer intention, which requires detachment, to select the desired life track.
It's a fundamental law then.
It is. Overemphasizing anything distorts the energetic field and triggers corrective measures. It makes reality seem antagonistic when, in reality, you are the one creating the energetic tension by worrying too much or trying too hard.
It sounds like the hardest part of transurfing isn't the outer intention itself, but neutralizing the self-sabotage of importance.
It is. But once we understand the rules of the road, the field, the constraint, and the obstacles, we can now talk about the practical tools Zeland provides for actually steering the ship. And these tools work specifically to enhance outer intention and minimize that energetic resistance.
Okay, so the first tool is the mental slide. This is much more than simple visualization, right? Because it needs to be integrated with the transurfing principles we just discussed.
A slide is a vividly detailed, continuous mental image of the desired goal already achieved. And crucially, it has to be imbued with strong, positive emotional feelings. The feeling of already living in that reality. The slide needs to be cinematic, multisensory, and feel real in your mind.
So if I want to successfully launch a new company, my slide isn't me, frantically working on the business plan.
No.
It's me 6 months after launch, sitting in my beautiful, functional office, feeling that quiet pride of success, hearing the sound of my team collaborating, and feeling the physical relief of having reached the goal.
Exactly. And the guidance for how to use it is what separates it from mere daydreaming.
Yeah.
Regular illumination or focusing on this slide, but critically, without excess importance.
There's the catch.
There's the catch. If you create a slide and then you fret every day, when will this happen? Why isn't it here yet?
Yeah.
You've just injected importance, and the balancing forces will step right in.
So by consistently and calmly focusing on the slide, you're effectively tuning your energy. You're sending a steady, coherent signal to the space of variations, informing it. This is the informational script I want to materialize, and my current frequency is aligned with it.
Mm-hmm. And the slide must be revisited frequently, often just before falling asleep, when the mind's logical resistance is naturally lowered.
Okay, so slides set the frequency, but outer intention is the powerful, decisive action that actually shifts the track. It's the declaration. How do we, step by step, activate this mechanism in a way that truly engages the space of variations?
Okay, so first, you have to achieve that heart-mind unity regarding the desired result. You have to ensure there's no internal conflict. If your mind wants success but your heart fears visibility, you need to neutralize that fear first.
Step 1.
Second, you calmly state the intention to have the goal. It's a declaration of intent, not a desperate plea. You are stating a choice, not begging for a favor.
And the third and hardest step, releasing the need to control the how.
That release is the definitive move. The moment you obsess over the means, you revert to inner intention and you lock yourself right back onto the current track's limitations. You must trust the space of variations to arrange the details through what Zeland calls the current or the flow.
Because the universe has access to infinite possibilities.
It will find the easiest path for you. Your logical, limited inner intention could never conceive of the optimal route.
So if I'm trying to get into a prestigious university, outer intention isn't me obsessing over test scores. It's me declaring, I'm a student at that university. My world is arranging the way for me to enroll. And then I just remain open to unexpected scholarships or sudden changes in entry requirements or mentorship opportunities that I never logically planned for.
That's the core of it. You focus on the destination, and the universe lays the track beneath your feet.
Okay, but the world is loud and pendulums are everywhere. Dealing with them is about recognizing when your emotional energy is being siphoned off. If you find yourself in a state of high emotional arousal, be it intense anger, crippling fear, or compulsive excitement over a fad, you are likely feeding a pendulum.
And the first step is always that recognition. But once you recognize the pull, you have to consciously withdraw your emotional energy. The source gives us 3 specific, highly effective techniques for managing these energy vampires.
Okay, let's walk through those. The first technique is the most active. Cause it to fail. What does that look like in real life?
This involves breaking the pendulum as expected script by responding with the opposite emotional energy. If a family conflict pendulum expects you to show up with outrage and tears, you respond with cool, factual neutrality, or even gentle humor.
And the pendulum can't process that.
It cannot process that unexpected energy signature and is forced to let you go because it can't extract any energy from you.
Okay, the second one is the simplest and probably the most effective. Extinguish it.
Just ignore it completely. If you withdraw your emotional focus, if you choose not to read the inflammatory comment, or you just walk away from the draining conversation, the pendulum starves of your energy and effectively vanishes from your reality.
So if you don't engage, it ceases to exist for you.
Exactly.
And the third technique, this one addresses unavoidable participation. Rent yourself out.
Right. So if you're forced to attend a draining work meeting or engage in some necessary but emotionally charged event, you consciously participate only by executing the required actions. You act without emotional involvement, like an actor playing a role.
And then you disengage.
You disengage quickly, ensuring your soul remains untouched and your energy is preserved. This conscious detachment is key to preventing the pendulum from attaching to your inner world.
All right, let's get to the toughest internal obstacle.
Yeah.
Importance. How do we achieve that paradoxical state of pursuing something fiercely, but simultaneously not caring if we fail? But how do you really let go?
It is indeed a high-wire act. Reducing importance requires a conscious internal declaration to lower the stakes you've attached to an outcome. You hold the outer intention, but you act as if your worth, your happiness, your future security does not hinge on this one specific result.
So the psychological process involves calmly accepting the possibility of failure.
Yes, and this is not defeatism. It's neutralizing the rubber band tension. If you can sincerely say to yourself, if I don't get this contract, I will still be fine and another door will open, you dissipate the excess potential.
Let's use the important example again. Inner intention dictates rigorous preparation.
Of course. But the crucial transurfing step is reducing importance by consciously affirming. I have prepared, I will execute, but my identity is not defined by this outcome. I accept any outcome, and I trust that the universe will guide me to the most favorable life track, regardless of this single event.
I admit, reducing importance and alignment with this flow is achieved not through rigid planning, but through flexibility.
Exactly. You achieve it by continuously observing the subtle signs the universe presents. Small coincidences, unexpected resources, sudden intuitive nudges. You have to be willing to let go of your logical, micromanaged plan, your inner intention, if the flow presents an easier alternative.
So, if I have meticulously planned a long, expensive cross-country move, and then suddenly an old college friend calls me out of the blue and offers me free, temporary housing near my destination, that's the flow appearing.
That is the classic example.
And sticking rigidly to my original plan because I already booked the movers would be fighting the current.
It would. And the result of moving with the current is inherent ease, and it often leads to significantly better, faster results than relying solely on strenuous inner intention. When you accept the universe's help, you recognize that the space of variations is a helpful, not antagonistic force. The flow guides you effortlessly toward the life track you selected.
Which brings us to this really poetic concept in the system, the rustle of the morning stars. It suggests there's a form of internal guidance that transcends logic.
It's Zeland's beautiful term for the subtle guidance of the soul or intuition. The soul, unlike the mind, is not limited by the information on your current life track. It has access to the energetic signatures of the entire space of variations and knows the most favorable, harmonious paths for you.
And it's unclouded by the logical arguments of the mind or the emotional manipulation of the pendulums.
Precisely.
So how do we practically hear this rustle? It's not a voice, is it?
It's often a subtle feeling, an immediate, deep internal sense of lightness or comfort when you consider a decision, or conversely, a feeling of heaviness, tightness, or just unease. The practical application is to pay keen attention to that initial intuitive feeling, what some people call the first thought, before the logical mind jumps in with all its analysis and counterarguments and worry.
Let's go back to the job offer scenario. The logical mind sees the high salary of offer A, but the heart feels heavy. The less prestigious offer B feels light, harmonious, and just right.
Transurfing advises serious consideration for the path that resonates with this subtle guidance. The logical mind is judging the options based on the metrics of the current, often limiting track. The intuition, the rustle, is reading the energetic signatures of the parallel life tracks, pointing you toward the script that is truly harmonious for your soul and aligns with the fulfilled slide you selected.
So ignoring this rustle means you're rejecting the flow that the universe is offering you.
Yes. And it requires a profound level of trust, which of course means reducing the importance attached to needing to logically understand everything.
Okay. We've synthesized a complex model into practical tools. So what is the transformative takeaway for you, the learner? What are the direct, tangible outcomes of applying this systematic approach to reality navigation?
I think the most immediate life-altering benefit, particularly in our high-stress modern world, is a massive stress reduction.
Absolutely. By reducing the importance attached to every outcome and realizing you have the power to consciously choose a different reality instead of fighting the current one, you just eliminate a huge source of anxiety. The pressure is off.
And that leads directly to an increased sense of control. And it's important to clarify, this is not control over events. You still can't change the specific script you're on, but control over choice.
The power lies in selecting the overall life track.
Which allows for greater peace. You move from being a reactive victim to an intentional navigator.
You also see improved goal achievement. The combined power of coherent, sustained slides and the focused declaration of outer intention allows you to bypass years of strenuous inner intention struggle.
You're accessing tracks where the goal is already realized, which just accelerates the results.
Furthermore, by practicing emotional detachment from collective narratives, you gain freedom from negative influences. You develop this sharp ability to recognize, ignore, or neutralize pendulums. You stop spending your life force-feeding the dramas and fears that were never truly yours to begin with.
And the quiet practice of listening, of non-resistance, cultivates enhanced intuition. Practicing the recognition of the rustle of the morning stars gives you a reliable, steady internal compass that logic alone can never provide in a field of infinite variations.
Ultimately, the shift is one of profound empowerment. It leads to greater harmony in life by consistently moving with the path of least resistance, the flow.
You move from seeing yourself as a pawn of circumstances, constantly battling forces beyond your control, to an empowered navigator who simply chooses the most fulfilling script from the infinite archives of possibility.
This has been a remarkable deep dive, exploring a model that asks us to trust that reality is far more flexible than we imagine. We have to remember that our internal state, the unity of heart and mind and the conscious management of energetic resistance, is the sole determinant of which parallel reality we inhabit.
So let's summarize the three core operational components for you. You have the infinite space of variations, which is the archive of all possible realities. You navigate this space not by struggling, but by using outer intention, that calm, detached knowing that selects a realized track.
And the continuous necessity of managing those energy-sapping structures,
Yeah.
neutralizing the pendulums and eliminating internal pressure by reducing importance.
We've provided the tools, but the application is yours. It requires constant vigilance over your emotional state and your focus.
And here is the final provocative thought to carry with you, a consequence of Zeland's premise. Every single fear or desire you hold already exists as a potential film in the space of variations. The true difficulty is often not manifesting something new, but simply generating the internal stillness required to stop illuminating the negative, unwanted film you are currently watching.
So if that is true, what slide are you illuminating right now in this very moment with your focus, your worry, or your calm conviction? And is that truly the reality you intend to inhabit?
Thank you for tuning in for the deep dive.
Keep tuning that dial.